Cummings. Our next speaker this morning is Dr. Ed Weisbart, Chairman of the Physicians for National Health Program. Please welcome Dr. Ed Weisbart.
This is great. I love you guys, you folks. So I've had some people ask why a physician organization would be participating in a labor rally. Let me explain this to you. I'm here today because of a 57-year-old woman having what she knew was her second heart attack, and instead of going to the emergency room, she chose to go home, lay down in bed, and hoped to die, rather than risk getting a $50,000 hospital bill. She knew that a huge medical bill would mean bankruptcy for her and her family, and eviction. But if she died at home, her mortgage insurance would pay off her house, and her son would have a place to live. I'm here today because of my 32-year-old diabetic patient who can only afford to take his insulin 3 days a week. Without his insulin, he's going to need dialysis in 2 or 3 years. And only at that point, when his illness has become a catastrophe, will our systems start to pay for his care through Medicare, including his dialysis at that point for $70,000 a year, and of course then we'll buy his insulin. This is like seeing a small leak in your roof and waiting for it to cave in before you do anything about it. And I'm here to say that I'll bet that there's even more striking parallels in coal mining. I'm here because of the 64-year-old grandmother whose blood pressure was well controlled for years, but the last time I saw her it was 180 over 115, sky high. I asked her what changed, and she told me that she was on her final eviction notice and could no longer pay her rent, buy food for the 3 grandchildren living with her, and buy her medications. She could not permit her grandchildren to become homeless. So she asked me, and this is a direct quote, etched in my brain, "So, Dr. Weisbart, how long can I live without taking my medications?" So, Dr. Weisbart, how long can I live without taking my medications? I never want to hear that question again. Every year, 1 out of 3 Americans goes without health care because of the high cost. 1 out of 3. 115 million of us. Most of them have medical insurance. Every day, over 100 Americans die because of no insurance. My nephew was one of these people. No one else in the modern world dies like this. It doesn't happen. Every American is one illness away from bankruptcy. You lose it, you have a job, you have insurance, you get sick, you're unable to work, so you lose your job, you lose your insurance, and with no way to pay your medical bills, you declare bankruptcy, and the rest of us are on the hook for those outstanding debts. 62% of bankruptcies are triggered by a medical illness, and 78% of them had insurance when they got sick. These problems make a mockery of the notion of American exceptionalism. We are now the exception in the modern world, in the worst possible way. We are the only place in the world, in the modern world, where a diabetic can't afford his life-saving insulin, where a working mother would choose to die rather than burden her family with a hospital bill, and where a grandmother would trade her health for her grandchildren's roof. This is not the United States of America that I believe in. This is not the American dream, and this is not the country that labor built. You have built a nation. You have built a nation where child labor is nearly unthinkable, where decent working conditions are the law of the land, and where workers expect and demand a living wage. You have joined the struggle to build a nation where health care is a human right, where this right is not on the negotiating table to be traded against a living wage, where the rich can't get richer by blocking your ability to get your medications, to see your doctor, to have your life saved in a hospital. You have joined the struggle for single-payer health care. My organization, Physicians for a National Health Program, believes the solution to our crisis is right before us: Medicare. It's not perfect, but almost every senior today would fight long and hard to keep it. Let's improve Medicare and give that to each and every American, no matter their age or background. There's a bill in Congress, H.R. 676, sponsored by John Conyers and co-sponsored by Lacey Clay, who's a representative you're going to hear from momentarily. It's called the Expanded and Improved Medicare for All Act, and it would do exactly this. It's got 48 co-sponsors, and it's growing, and we need this law urgently. So when you go back home, ask your U.S. congressional representative to co-sponsor H.R. 676 like our Lacey Clay did. With everybody in and nobody out, health care would become the human right we know it to be. Thank you for your struggle. You're fighting for your right to health care, you're fighting for my right to health care, and you're fighting for every single American's basic human rights. Physicians for a National Health Program is honored to walk beside you.